My mom told me to skip the lake house, so I showed up dating her neighbor's son today. Mom texted me that morning. The lake house is too crowded with your brother's kids. Stay home this year. I laughed while sitting at Jason's kitchen counter, watching him flip pancakes like it was nothing. Mom had no clue I'd been secretly dating her neighbor's son for 6 months, and that message hit a nerve. In my family, I'm the spinster sister. I'm 29, so everyone acts like I'm too old, too picky, and too focused on work to ever find anyone. At every get-together, they corner me about dating, then toss in helpful hints about my clock. My brother Andrew gets praised for breathing, even when his house is chaos. I've swallowed it for years, but that text made me think, fine, you want me to stay away? Watch this. Jason and I met last December at a coffee shop downtown. I was sitting alone with a muffin, still irritated from another terrible Tinder date, when this guy asked if he could share my table because the place was packed. We started talking, and it was easy. Halfway through, he mentioned living near a lake. He said he had neighbors who threw loud family weekends. I asked what lake, joking, and he said the name. I almost choked on my drink. The neighbors he meant were my parents, Jason Morrison, the quiet family next door my mom always called lovely but private. I'd known him for years in a wave from the driveway way, but I'd never really known him. We kept it quiet at first because Jason wanted to tell his parents before my parents found out, and his parents were traveling through Europe. Also, I'll admit it, sneaking around was kind of fun. We met at my apartment, drove to restaurants one town over, and took quick weekend trips where nobody knew us. My family kept asking why I never brought a man home, and I kept smiling and changing the subject. Jason would squeeze my hand and say, soon. Then yesterday, he got a text from his mom. They were back from Italy. Jason looked at me and said, okay, it's time. So I stared at mom's message, stared at Jason in his messy hair and clean t-shirt, and I texted back, actually, I changed my mind. I'm coming, and I'm bringing someone special. My phone rang immediately. Madison Louise, mom said, using my full name. You cannot spring a guest on us. There's no room. Andrew and Victoria need the master. The twins have your old room. We're using the den for the baby stuff. I kept my voice calm. Don't worry, Mom. We won't stay with you. She sounded relieved. Good. Where will you? I said. Next door. Dead silence. Then she snapped. Next door isn't renting. The Morrisons don't do that. I looked at Jason, who had stopped chewing and was obviously listening. I know, I said into the phone. Just wait. She started to argue, but I ended the call first. Jason raised an eyebrow and said, you're really doing this? I said, yep. 2 hours later, I pulled into Jason's driveway with an overnight bag. Across the yard, Mom was outside with a hose, watering her flowers like she always does when she's stressed. She waved at me like I'd made a wrong turn. I waved back and walked to Jason's porch, trying to act normal while my heart hammered. Jason stepped out in a button-down, took my bag, and kissed me right there on the porch, slow and obvious. Behind me, I heard the hose hit the ground with a wet slap. Madison, Mom called, and her voice cracked. What is happening? I turned, still holding Jason's hand. Mom, I said, keeping it light. Meet Jason Morrison. We're dating. Jason gave a polite little wave. Hi, Mrs. Sullivan. Sorry for the surprise. Mom just stood there dripping, staring like her brain had stalled. Then Andrew's minivan rolled up to my parents' place. He climbed out already barking at the twins to stop running, then froze mid-step when he saw Jason's arm around my waist. Wait, Andrew said, staring at us stunned, like the word hurt. Right then, Jason's front door opened, and his parents walked out smiling, tanned from travel, like they'd been waiting for this exact second. You must be Madison, Jason's mom said, and she hugged me like we were family. We've been dying to meet you. Jason's dad shook my hand and said, he hasn't stopped talking about you. My mom's mouth opened, then closed. Victoria stepped out of the van and stared across the yard. Andrew looked back and forth between the two houses, like he was trying to reboot. Mom finally found her voice, but it came out small. Madison, why didn't you tell us? I met her eyes and said, you never asked. You just assumed there was nothing to tell. Now my mom is saying I embarrassed her on the porch. Was I wrong?